The UAAP women's volleyball ended the weekend with a bang as the UST Golden Tigresses erased what could have been a sweep by the De La Salle Green Archers. Now, joining us to discuss that game and the other matches that brought the fans to their feet is UAAP analyst Jamie La Victoria. Jamie, how are you doing?
Hey,
Good.
Jamie.
Going well.
I sense the fear in your presence right now because we're going to go ask the hard questions here. Let's talk first about the game that really captured everyone's imaginations, which was La Salle against UST. Because UST able to prevent the season sweep from La Salle. What stood out for you the most? How did they do it?
For some reason, every time UST goes up against La Salle, they just perform way better than their usual games. And I always say this, and Aya Laure finally has help. Right? You have Gerardo in there, you have Malena, and for them to score over 18 points, that just goes to show their fight and their grit after each point.
And when you watch UST play, when you talk about them, you know, people calling them the streak busters because they also ended the NU streak
That's right.
that they had earlier this season. But when you talk about this UST team, with the way they, you know, play with energy, how do you think they're gonna go all the way to the Final Four if they make it? Especially now we're in the second round.
Well, it's not always how you start, but how you finish.
Right.
And I think they're peaking at the right time. They had a few losses in the first round, but I think those losses helped them learn, and those losses helped them break those bad habits that they're now carrying to the second round.
So let's see whether or not they can sustain this this sort of peak, and let's see if they can maintain that all the way to when the games matter more. But going to La Salle, losing the streak, obviously, we now have to discover how they bounce back from losses. Angel Canino was the only player to finish in double digits with 13. Jolina De La Cruz with only 8 points. You take a look at this. We've heard stories about them not stopping training or continuing to train more
That's
and
right.
more. How do you think they're going to react from this?
Well, it is their first loss, so they do have to go back to the drawing board. And this kind of reminds me back to when people were, the other teams were beating NU in their first round. So they have to be reminded that the people are out to get them, right? Because they want to break that streak, and this is the more that La Salle needs to work harder in training.
And quickly, just as an analyst, Jamie, what did La Salle not do against that offensive firepower in UST?
Well, the last 3 games of La Salle, both of them were against NU and FEU, and their offense is much faster compared to UST's. Not saying that UST's is slower, I'm saying it's because their style is different. So UST's offense, they go with the high ball set. So the timing of their block was off. They were actually too early, or they were not able to close it properly. So Malena and Aya were able to power through in between the block.
You see, this is why you shouldn't be scared of all our questions because you got all the answers here. But you take a look.
A+ so far.
A+ so far. So let's take a look at so we mentioned NU a while ago. Let's take a look at NU's win. They got back into the win column, beating UP. And again, it was relatively close. You take a look at the set scores here, but NU, you have to feel good about finally getting back on the win column after suffering their first loss.
That's right. I mean, the past 2 games have been difficult for them because it's both from La Salle. So they needed this win to boost their morale and their confidence, because I'm sure, you know, they're also questioning their skills at this point, but I know if they dig deep, they'll be able to prevail.
And
there's a second loss, by the way, talking about the NU, but they're able to bounce back, especially into the win column. But then you take a look at Bella Belen, 19 points, 18 attacks.
Right.
It's just great to see her back at it, really.
That's right. She is their go-to spiker, and the way she plays is, you know, she is the Rookie of the Year from last year. So do expect her to bring her A game all the time.
now from NU, we go to Adamson. They've been very, very consistent. I mean, they've been the dark horses. They've been tagged as the dark horse before the season, but now they're one of the contenders because they've been playing very consistent. Let's talk about the 3 players that have been standing out for them: Trisha Tubu, Kate Santiago, and Louie Romero, an excellent setter for Adamson.
The connection that Romero has with their spikers, she, you know, of all the qualities it takes to be a good setter, she really has it all. And the consistency and the accuracy of her sets, it's actually giving the spikers that hitting point, which allows them to have 1 block and sometimes no block.
5.13 excellent sets, talking about Louie Romero, and had 18 excellent sets in their last game. Take a look at the combination of Tubu, who had 17 points a game, number 3 in scoring, Kit Santiago, number 7 in scoring as well. You take a look at Adamson. We're always saying the favorites are going to be right now LaSalle, NU. You take a look at them potentially upsetting any of them in Final Four situation. Do you think that they do have the tools to do it?
They do. I think they're slowly creeping in, and they're the type to play simple volleyball, nothing too flashy. They just get the job done, and that's why they're slowly becoming the favorite as well.
Right, and Jamie, you've had the chance to play against the system of Coach Jerry and Adamson. And what are they doing very well? Because if you take a look at their team, no legit star players where it's just a one go-to player. They just spread that wealth around the team.
That's right. Well, what I noticed when I got a chance to cover their games during the timeout, Coach Jerry is a man of a few words.
Yeah.
Because he's the type to, you should know what to do when you're in training, right? So by the time the game starts, you need to know what you're doing. And his style is very strict. They seem very disciplined, and they really put themselves at high expectations.
Again, a lot of interesting developments in the UAAP women's volleyball, of course. With all the teams suffering losses right now, we're going to have a Final Four.
It's going to be very
It's going
exciting.
to be really
That's right.
exciting. It's going to be a race to those number 3 and 4 positions in particular. So let's see who gets it. Jamie, really appreciate you being here. And
Thank you.
don't worry, we can have you for longer on the
That's
show
for
next
sure.
time around.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Jamie.